Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. So today's video is an update on my still life project, which is hosted by the Roxy Creations girls, Rachel and Sarah. Now, my last video, I was a bit wobbly. I was going to cut it down in size, but I held off and percolated a little bit on it and started playing with the composition of all of my elements. And I think that's what the problem was. Because I was coming and going from the piece over a series of weeks, no official decision was made. I was literally just plonking things down and pinning them and walking away, and it just didn't look right. I think I described it in the last video like a desert, and there was a camp of Bedouin herders over in the one corner, and then there was camels walking in a train of, camel train walking over in another corner, and there was this vast desert in between. Well, I think I've brought everything into the center and connected things. So this is my final layout, and I think what helped was I needed a table. My background, which is the table, excuse me, just had a sneezing attack, so I'm a little bit congested. This green fabric here with the floralettes all over it, that was my table. But in the placing of it onto bringing this element in, which has my vase on it, remember this was disconnected, it hadn't yet joined the piece. I had this sitting over this. And as soon as I remembered that this was the table, therefore it was in the foreground, and I folded that over to create a little raised edge, it all changed. As soon as I did this and made the table sit away from the junction, it changed as well. And then I was looking at the table thinking it's still not quite defined enough. So that's when I thought, you know what? I'm going to create a second table, well, I guess the illusion of a second table, by using this collar. Now this collar I picked up in America, so I'm absolutely thrilled to be able to work it into the piece. So it's sort of, I know it comes off the table, but it's nearly like there's a ledge here now. So this fabric can disappear into the background. It doesn't have to be a table. It can just, blend. And I was so much happier with it. As soon as I got this lineal line here, this ginger jar I had sitting down here because I was starting to stretch the piece out, and that was the vastness that I was creating. This gave me the ledge. Down comes the collar. I then brought the ginger jar to nestle up against the bottom of the vase. Loved it. Immediately it fixed it. I'm still playing with this little sprig. This sprig was in a bird's mouth up in the top corner. If you remember back to previous videos, I had a little bird up here and the sprig was in the mouth. I've taken that away. I just don't think I need it. I think I'm starting to spread the desert out again. So everything's staying in the center. These fell into place really well when I put this doily down, because that's like a sandwich tray. So I've got this rectangular shaped element here for the fruit to sit on, like a little tray of fruit. This little fellow, he's still floating in the wilderness. I've had it lying everywhere. It doesn't make sense over there. It looks washed out over there. It should stay on the tray, but I think I like it better without it. So unless I come up with something to make this work, I've tried angling, I've tried leaning, I've tried too close to him. It just doesn't work. So I think this little element at the moment is not going on the piece, which is okay. At first I was like, no, I've made it, it must go on. But no, it's just not working. So what else have I done? Yesterday, so it's public holiday for me today. So Sunday afternoon, I reconnected with Susanna. We hadn't spoken for over a week, and that's like a long time in our world. So we had a sit and stitch for, I think it was 3 hours, Susanna. When I finally hung up, it was getting dark. Husbands are starting to appear. What's for dinner? we like, righto, we better go. So 3 hours of stitching. In that time, I was able to needle turn edge the table, which is sort of now the background, and I brought in the vase, dropped it into position, stitched around the perimeter, and I started doing stitching through the center so that it pins it to the background, because otherwise it got quite puffy there. Now, I do want a little bit of puffiness because they're flowers. They can handle it. Like there's an air pocket there. It can handle it. So, but I do think I still need a few little stitches in around. I have completely stitched down the ginger jar, except for that top edge. That's still up in the air. I did this yesterday, and this morning I needle turned the lid a little. I'll come down in closer and show you some of the little things I've done. I just thought I'll give you the overall view and let you know that I'm happy. I've got pins sitting through lace, which is yet to be tacked down. There's a bit of lace up there curled over. So at the end of the day, there's just a little bit of tacking to do and attach my fruit, finish my vase. Then I want to explore some additional fabrics to add to the backgrounds, just to create a little bit of whimsy. I've stitched my bird there. I'll come in close to that in a moment. And I'm yet to do some decorative stitching around the two patches. Those two patches are original to the piece of ticking. So this mattress obviously had some tears, and whoever had it restitched. Now it's a sewing machine stitch in there, so I want to go over that with a whip stitch or something just to disguise the fact that there is a sewing machine. And this patch was actually on the other side like this, but I removed it and brought it to the front. So I want to do a little bit of mending stitch around that as well. Anyway, what we're going to do now is I might disconnect this camera, this iPad from the stand, and take you in close just to bring you up to speed of some additional things I've done. And then I can sit back down and do a little bit of stitching. All right, let's do that next. Just pausing for a moment. Okay, we're zoomed in on the little bird at the moment. Now, as you can see, he's all stitched. So I thread painted the little bird. Absolutely love him. He was a little bit darker and moodier in the actual fabric, so I ended up bringing a little bit of cream onto his little chest, broke the blues up a little bit, and instead of a really dark colour around his cheeks and in his tail, I chose like a latte colour thread just to lighten it up. He had quite a dark purple head, so I just picked a more of a magenta. So little bird is 100% stitched. I also stitched the little buds here. Now, see in this flower here, there's that little bit of burgundy. So I left a little bit there, very dark. I've ended up stitching that with this brighter pink. I just felt like those blue flowers needed a little lift. So that's where the burgundy was, there, there, and there. And now I'm working through this little flower here, just gonna, you know, hide that burgundy. I'm not going to thread paint the pale blue. A lot of these flowers don't have intense thread painting, which brings me to one that's coming up. These flowers have just got a hint of it. I didn't want to go over the top and produce a Fleur Woods inspired piece, like really intense stitching, because my flowers themselves on this printed fabric is what I loved about making that selection. So I just wanted to highlight stitch. I've been debating with the greenery. Do I stitch it? Do I not? I've decided not to. And when you look down here, let me just move your camera again. Hold on to your toast. We're coming down. See these flowers, these leaves here? I just love them. I love the softness of them. I love the color variation, and there is just no way I can reproduce that as delicately as it seems. Like thread painting gets quite chunky unless you use a fine thread. The other problem I had is I don't own half of those colors. So I sort of got to the point of I don't think I'm going to like what I produce. It's going to look chunky and textured. And I don't think those leaves need to. It sort of softens my piece. And then I've got these little elements, which is a bit of a homage to doilies. I think they would look even more out of place. So we've got this real heavy cross stitch. We've then got texture as in collaged elements with all of these little glittery clusters and some beads. And then we've got this finer work. Like, I want this piece to be a mishmash of lots and lots of different techniques. So can you see? Yeah, you can see this flower. This flower here is from quilting fabric. So completely different piece of fabric compared to this heavy guy here, which is like a curtaining fabric. This one here, soft. So I dropped my thread painting stitches down to number 10 pearl cotton, so a lot finer. I've slowly worked little bits in there, and then I got to the point of just stop because I was losing that whimsical soft edge to my piece. I'd get to the point where soon I'd be going around. See the edge of this guy? Because the fabric's so heavy, it handled that stem stitch right around easily. This here, it's delicate. This is delicate. So it's like having, I guess, a bunch of flowers and you've got this huge big iris, and then in amongst it you've got a carnation. Yet it looks dense. It's still got that softness about it. And then there's baby's breath in amongst your bouquet. So that's sort of my theory in how I worked these pieces. Over here, let me just tilt again. I just seen another example. See the cross stitch here and the cross stitch here? Completely different elements, same technique, different thread count. So that sort of, I guess, sets me up for how this piece was evolving. A little bit of everything. And I think it works. Now I'll just reposition down here. I'll get settled in because I want to do a little bit of stitching, and I think that's everything I wanted to show you at the top. Yeah, okay. I'll just pause the video again and relocate my stand. Okay, now I can sit down again and settle in. So you'll notice that I ended up stitching my selvage onto my vase just as a bit of a feature. It was twice the width with a little furry edge and then the printed element. So when I placed it on here, it was quite wide. So I ended up folding it in half. I've got the little furry element, the fluffy edge peeking out from underneath, and a rolled edge here, which sort of helps with the bulk of the piece. What else do I need to tell you around this end? I don't know if you can see. I'll try tilting again. I just don't want the camera to pop out. I went back to that blue flower there and popped a little bit of that pink I was talking about in there, just a hint of it. It didn't have any of that burgundy from the previous fabric underneath, but I just felt it tied this little guy into all of the rest of them. So I sort of revisited a few flowers and drifted some of these little decisions I made through them. I need to decide what's happening here. I've got lace coming in over leaves. So this lace needs to be cut back. I was looking at this late last night, and to make a decision on where to cut it, let me adjust again. Hold on to your toast again. To cut it, if I was to come up here and trim these flowers off, it's quite boring because it leaves these two. Like, this is a really pretty edge. So I'm sort of the opinion that I need to unpick that, move it back, and maybe trim through here again, but move it back a bit. So that there's not quite right. I need to work with it. Now let me go back to that ginger jar. Oh my goodness, was that a pain to stitch down. It's needle turned into position. I did the bottom first, and this morning I've been working on the lid. When I actually picked up the lid, I decided to do it in my hand. This one I did as I turned it onto the piece, and oh my goodness, I got a cramp in my neck. I swear, I was contorted around this thing, trying to get my body twisting around the shape of it. This is so heavy and so big that I sort of don't want it to move too much because it'll bump and could make wrinkles that I don't want when it's framed. Excuse me. So this morning I decided I'm going to needle turn, if I can just turn that edge. See how I've turned it over and I've put a little slip stitch around the whole back, so that just holds it. I now don't need to needle turn. All I've got to do is stitch it down, which is still a contortionist's feat, let me tell you. But what I did notice is my vase was wider than my lid. So I hadn't turned this edge in here sharp enough. So that was a bit disappointing, but I just unpicked a little bit, repositioned that to be a sharper, tighter turn, and then stitched it down and then carried on my way. So yeah, my lid is going on. I'm about here. I guess I need to decide, am I doing anything on the top, as in the little nodule? Not nodule, that's a weird word. Yeah, like a little ceramic bauble up at the top here. I don't know, we'll see. I sort of feel like when I look at this piece in real life, it looks fine, but looking at the camera like you are, I feel like I could do with a little blue line through here, just to, like a shadow line. But if you're standing looking at the piece, you can clearly see that it is a lid. So that's something I need to consider when I'm, 5 meters back from the piece, looking at it. That might just blur. And looking at what am I trying to say? Looking at the screen has made me see that, is what I'm trying to say. Sitting here at the bench, it looks fine. So I think I need like a shadow line here. Yeah, so that just needs to be finished. I won't wrangle that because, yeah, it's not very ladylike when I get to stitch that. It's just like I'm crawling all over it. So what I thought I might do is, I'm really happy with placement of my fruit. Let me just tilt us again. You probably finished your toast by now, so hang on to your cup of coffee. We're moving the camera again. Yep. Just turned and looked at the TV and it looks fine. So this is what I'm going to stitch. And I'm nearly there. Where's my cotton? Oh my goodness, now the whole table's moving. Seriously, whose idea was to do this so big? My goodness me. The next project is going to be on my lap size project. None of this hugeness. So you're probably wondering where we're up with the garden, and also Gaz's thoughts about hanging this. He's actually come around, and I think it's this ledge. In his mind, he can see where these are sitting. It's not just floating in the background. So he come in from going to a car show yesterday, and as soon as he looked at it, he was like, oh yeah, they're sitting on a bench. And I was like, yes. So I think in his mind, it suddenly made sense. And I think that's what I was struggling with. I refer back to a video when Rachel started stitching shadows into her pieces under things, like under her vase and that. And I think I had the same issue. Nothing was grounded. And when you look at some of the still lifes, you can see the artist has sort of smudged a shadow line in under things. It might be subtle, but I think that's what tells our brain that the pieces aren't just floating on a piece of fabric. That was my issue. And I think bringing everything into position tightly, condensing it in, and connecting it with underlaid pieces. So my prompt for a piece of crockery or an extra piece is all of this table work, I believe. I haven't come up with anything that I want to do extra. Like I mentioned weeks ago that cupcakes and slices of cake, and if you have a look at Susanna's video, she's doing a cupcake, and when she pulled up her iPad for her Pinterest inspiration, a lot of those images I was looking at too in the early stages and had plans of doing something cakey, but I don't think I need it. I think if I did, I'm going away from my style of this piece, and I think I might start to feel like it's a little bit cluttered. So at this stage, these are my last elements. So all I need to do now is stitch that little bit of pink up there. Stitch these little guys down into position, which is what I'm doing now with just a little invisible stitch. I'm not going to go around. Oh, that pin is just catching everything. I'm not going to go around the edge. I want that raised feel. I don't want to anchor it. So I'm leaving my threads in the air, so to speak. Oh, not my threads. What happened there? I completely missed my apple. Something else I was going to mention too. When I did the ginger jar, I ended up trimming a lot of the bulk out the back. See all that? That's all the wadding, because there was the fabric with the blue flowers printed on it, some calico, and then some wadding. So to help with the turning of my piece, I trimmed out the wadding, and oh gosh, it made such a difference. So I thought I'd just mention that. If you're getting to the pointy end of the piece and you're getting to the thinking of stitching all of your pieces down, don't be afraid to pinch out some background fabrics with your scissors to help you get your elements into position. So that's the latest on my piece. At the end of this video, I'll take you outside and show you what the lads did for me in the garden. It was a big week. Oh my goodness. I was catching Susanna up on the whole week. So they started Sunday. I'll just keep stitching and just give you some background information so we're not standing out in the garden talking like this. So we started the week on the Sunday, and due to their slow start, let's call the lads B1 and B2. B1 is the brother-in-law, B2 is his friend. So B2 arrived Saturday afternoon, and B1, he was already here, I think, Friday. And that's when the grand plan was hatched, something like that. I can't remember. I'm so exhausted from the experience. So anyway, the team is assembled. Sunday morning, everyone's just taken forever to get started. Then they declared they needed some supplies. They had the timber, but they didn't have enough screws. They thought they did, but they didn't. So off to Bunnings they go. And I just knew what was going to happen. That was the end of them. And I'm like, I'm staying home. I can do some chores. And I did not see them till 1 o'clock. Off to Bunnings they go. It's just, the day was gone. So I was getting a bit, let's say I was antsy about the lack of work achieved on the first day. Now, they did do a little bit that afternoon, but they come back with a carton of beer. Now, these boys, they're pretty big drinkers. Gaz isn't. I'm not. We just, I don't know. Is it because we're old? They're like 4 years younger than Gaz, these lads. Probably more my age. But boy, they can drink. So that's when the demolition started, and that was pretty easy, lift up a few old posts, and then there was beers in amongst it, and they were just getting more and more goosey, like laughing and carrying on, and they were teasing each other. It was hilarious. I have never laughed so long. I had to go and get, well, no, I didn't, but I'm being sarcastic. I had to go and get a nappy on because I was laughing so much. I was constantly having to run to the toilet because it was just silly, absolutely silly. But it was good fun. So they demolitioned. So they're like, oh, we'll get a good start. We'll get a good start tomorrow. So they did. Into it they go. Carton of beer was polished off. They worked pretty hard and it was pretty hot. There was a few sunburns, but you know, take your shirt off, well then you're going to get sunburnt. Logic doesn't seem to, but we want a brown. We want to get an all over even brown was the story. It's like, righto, it's pretty hot, you're going to get sunburnt. So they did a good day's work. The next day they did a half day's work because it was another trip to Bunnings. Oh my goodness, guys. And as the week went on, they did achieve most of the jobs. There was numerous cartons of alcohol consumed. I don't know how they do it. The B2 says, oh, I love to have a Barocca in the morning and some, not Staminade, what's it called? Sustenance or something? I don't know. So I went into town to get some groceries for the next few days of meals, and that was the day they went to Bunnings. So I got them this Barocca. And I now know why they have the Barocca. It's because they're drinking so much. They're drinking these beers. And then they're like, oh, we don't normally drink like that. And Gaz is like, well, why are you doing it now? You better ration your beers because they're going to slow up real fast. And you're working in the sun. You're getting a sunburn as well. Not bad, but, you know, it's looked pretty pink to me, their backs. Just stupid behaviour. But they're having a good time. There was lots of laughs and lots of tall stories, as you can imagine, as the brews were flowing. Oh, my goodness, guys. It was exhausting. So we get to Thursday and we hadn't yet done the fire pit. The fire pit design, I had these grand plans. I think I was batting above my pay grade with the plans with these boys. I think they were saying, yeah, we can do it. But I just, as the week went on, I was like, you know what? I'm going to just back away from all of that grand architecture design because I could see the heat and the drinking was starting to knock them around. Oh, they think they're so tough, but no, it was knocking them around. So we got to Thursday and I said to Gaz, I said, nah, that's it. We're going to pull it up. Thursday's the last day, maybe a few little chores Friday morning, but we'll release them. They can mosey on to their next port of call. They're heading to some mate's place. They're doing a night at every mate's place as they work their way back to Brisbane to catch a flight home. One's from Rockhampton, the other one's Townsville. So Thursday, I was like, that's it. I've had enough. I'd laughed so much. I went through every emotion of frustration to anger to laughing to, it was just a full on, and I'd worked hard with them as well on the tools. So I am absolutely exhausted. And then I, sidled up to every meal and cooked them a full hearty meal. So I said, Gaz, that's it. I'm tapping out. So they're out. It's enough. So they finished my garden beds, and it got to the point where once all the soil was put in, really it's just planting my plants, and that's me. They wanted to, I had them sort of temporarily placed around in the beds, and they started wanting to dig them in, just dig a hole, slam them in. I'm like, no. I need to feel the garden and think about the plants and how they grow and make sure I've got the right plant in the right spot. And I couldn't be rushed. It's like placing my fruit. It takes time. So that's when I thought, nah, we've run out of boy jobs. It's now me and my garden, and I want to enjoy it. So they took off on Friday morning. So Gaz and I had the day out in the garden. Oh, it was so nice. We just cleaned up. We hosed. They cut timber, hardwood, so therefore there's this red sawdust everywhere, and we haven't even got it all. They'd forget to close garage doors. I was constantly going, shut the roller door, you're cutting timber. Like, come on. Oh my goodness. So we cleaned. I repositioned my plants. I thought about them. by the end of the day, I was happy with their position, and I popped them all in the ground, gave them all a kiss, all my plants, you know. I just wanted to absorb that fun, you know, creation of a garden without those B1 and B2 bouncing around like a pair of galahs. That's a really Aussie saying for you out there in America and Europe. Galahs are birds, and they're really playful, grey coloured birds with a hint of pink, and they bounce and hang, and they often hang upside down off of power lines and carry on like galahs, is the saying. So I had a pair of galahs, so to speak, a pair of cockatoos. So we finished up Friday. By Friday night, guys, I was shattered. I hadn't slept much all week because I was waking up through the night thinking about the next task, what I wanted them to achieve, trying to keep them efficient, I guess. Maybe I'm overthinking it, micromanaging it. It's another name for it, most likely. But they needed it. Oh, they were loose. They were loose, those boys. So very little sleep, a lot of hard work. Saturday comes along, and Gaz wanted to go into Harvey Bay and do a few chores. So I was like, oh, do I have to? So we did. Went into town, but it was good. It got me away from the place for a bit. Change of scenery, as they say, is always good. So we caught up with a mate that we'd found has moved to the area. Haven't seen him since when Gaz and I were first married. Gaz used to hang out with him, and his brother was in that group, and they were all childhood, teenage mates. He's living in Harvey Bay. So that was good to say hello to him. And then on Sunday, this is the day I did all this stitching, Gaz and his mate decided to go to a car show that was in town. And I said, oh, I'm not going. Usually I love going to car shows. I love looking at all the old cars. But this show tends to be more of cars from the 80s and 90s. So Commodore, Kingswoods, going back to the 70s there, Holdens and Fords, you know. It's sort of not so much vintage. I like shows that have all the old cars. Anyway, but it's right up the boys' alley. They like that. They were cars that they grew up with. So off those two went, and Sunday I had to myself. The serenity. I watered my garden. I patted all my plants. It was just, was so good. And then I'd started stitching in the morning, this piece, and also my gosling quilt. It's coming to the final throws too. I've got a little video coming with my gosling quilt. I'm to the point where everything is stitched. I've just got to pick a fabric for the edging. So that's coming along nicely. And then I think it was about 2 o'clock, Susanna, 2:30, Susanna and I connected, and we chatted for 3 hours stitching. She was working on her gorgeous jacket that she's making. If you haven't seen the video, go over to Vintage Blend Studio. That's Susanna's site, and she's creating a jacket out of these gorgeous fabrics, and she's embellishing. She's at the embellishing stage, the fun bit. She's cut out all of the pieces, you know, your front pieces, your back and your sleeves, and now she's having fun embellishing. So she was doing that, I was doing this, and we were actually surprised at how much we achieved, you know, in that 3 hours. So this morning, being the public holiday, all I've got to do is stitch my fruit down, finish the top of my ginger jar, put a shadow line in. I've got to finish that flower up there with a little bit of pink. I might do a little bit on that, you know, when I referred to the carnation. I might do a little bit more on that, maybe. We'll see. And I do want to visit some background fabric scatterings. So what I'm thinking of doing is grabbing out Rachel's text that's printed onto fabric and seeing if some of those little morsels might look good in the background. Just like a little hint of words. I just don't know. I really like adding writing to things. The other fabric I thought of having a play with is fabric with music printed on it. Is another nice element. So that's sort of my plan. I've got my pear stitched down now. I'm just moving over to my red. I can hear Fudgy snoring. Even the cat's exhausted, I tell you. I don't know how those boys live that lifestyle. It is hard work. But it was a good week. We had a ball. I haven't laughed so much. They were like picking at each other all the time. It was just so funny. And just the sayings. Oh, the swear words. But oh my goodness. Oh, I heard words I haven't heard for a long time. And it's not just one swear word. They link them together in connected sentences. It's just the day I went by myself to town to do the groceries and they were doing a second trip to Bunnings. That was the second half day. I was driving along thinking about everything that was happening and all the conversations and all the big talking, you know, all that big chat. And swear words were coming into my head just thinking about it. And I said to him later that afternoon, I said, you lot have infiltrated my brain with some really bad words and I'm using them in sentences. I feel like I'm, you know, running with the lads. So I said, you just need to get out of here so that I can get my headspace back because I'm going to end up, you know, these naughty words are going to slip into my speeches. No, they won't. I've got more self-control than that. Just, yeah. It's amazing that when you're around people, you know, things like that can rub off onto you and it's, yeah. Anyway, I think you can read between the lines of what I'm all saying here without me saying too much. Come on, I think my hands are tired. Like just pulling the needle. This is not heavy, but my hands are tired from digging and carrying lumps of timber and that hardwood. It's so beautiful, but boy, it's heavy. Oh, I remember building a retainer wall on a house years ago and we used hardwood. And it just about killed us. It was just so dense and heavy. And it was just me and Gaz. So, yeah, it'll last forever. My garden beds will last forever. And the B2 suggested that we use linseed oil to bring out the colour and the grain, and that'll also protect it from the weather. And it's just beautiful. I love it. It was one of the better ideas that B2 had offered. Oh, I tell you, I think the secret is to have your plan of what you want and then don't change it. Don't allow all of the galahs to put their 2 cents worth in. I'm talking about my fire pit. I was getting worried about what they were planning and I thought, you guys, you don't have the skills to pull that off. I'm going to have a mess. I just, yeah. I think what I'm going to do, well, I know what I'm going to do. I'm not actually going to build anything for the fire pit. I've got 4 pavers, 400 by 400 grey charcoal pavers here. They were the wrong ones ordered. Well, they weren't wrong. The garden bed didn't end up the size it was meant to. Therefore, the 4 pavers weren't going to fit. So I had to buy another 4 pavers that would fit. I'll show you when we go outside. So I have now 4 pavers. This is a classic case of not measuring properly. So I have these 4 pavers. So what I'm thinking of doing is instead of having this huge built complex thing for a fire pit, because at the end of the day, the fire pit's going to get used a couple of times. a year. And the rest of the time, this is Bandit and Pepper's space to play. So the theory is I will cut the 4 pavers into the turf. So that will create a platform for which the fire pit will sit on. So then I can easily mow and we can whippersnipper around this little Plymouth that's level in the grass. The fire pit sits there and the chairs sit around on the grass. Now, the amount of times we're going to use this, I think it'll be fine. It won't look like a big lumpy structure down there. So at the moment, that's what I'm going to do. We'll see how it goes, and if in the years to come I want something more elaborate, you know, I can always have something done. But at the moment, that will suffice, because otherwise those lads would have been here another couple of weeks, and no, that was it. That was enough. So that's the plan for the fire pit. All I've got to do now is find a fire pit. Now, because I have salt in my air here, I'm looking for one that already looks rusty, because I have a feeling that this environment will quickly rust up the fire pit, especially if I go for one of those that, you know, has that black look about it. That surface will just fall off. And it usually does after the first fire anyway. It's not real strong. I don't know what that coating is, but Bunnings sell them. So I'm looking for something that is rusty looking. So as it rusts naturally, it'll look cool. It'll naturally patina to the environment. In other words, rust and fall to bits over a very quick period of time. So yeah. That's the latest on my adventures with the garden. What I have to do next with the garden is I'm going to sugarcane mulch it all, but I'm going to leave that for a week or so because I really want to penetrate the soil with moisture. I want the plants not to be cramped by mulch around them. So yeah, I'm just going to let things settle. And hello, Fudge. And mulch in a week or so. So yeah, there you go. That's the latest. That is the latest. I'm just going to do this little bit of lace, and then we might head on outside. Let me know if you think you can spot a spot for my little segment of apple. I'm not too worried if I don't use it, because I could use it as an element on something, like I could stitch it onto something. So I'm not too worried if you think you agree, and just leave it at the 3. I think it's because the tray, we're seeing a certain size here. We've got the 3 elements, and if I put anything in this area, it's starting to messy it up a little bit. That makes sense. Okay. I think I also spoke in the last video about not camphor stitching all of this ticking. I don't think I need to. I think it's going to detract from my piece. So keeping the background a little clean is the theory, but we'll see. Maybe the little pieces of script might be enough. I think they will. And there's some that are printed on linen in my little Rachel collection. So maybe that scrappied up a little bit might look good. So yeah, I'll insert a video of the garden next. I'll spend the day finishing the stitching on this piece. Then you'll see the next little bit of video will be those fabrics that have text or music on them. We'll see what they look like, and that'll be the final stage of this piece. So then it will slide into the frame. Now my frame is all ready to go. It's already got the glass inlaid. It's just a case of some spray adhesive to hold this onto the backing board, which is the old clock face. Remember, it was a clock. So that's really easy. And then drop the frame, has the glass within it, because it's a big black metal frame, into position. Those little lugs I press down, and hey presto, the piece is done. So really, really cool. That should not take too long. It's a bit puffy there. I've got a little bit of cotton left. I might just do a couple little stitches here, and then I know that that's held. It's a bit puffy. Hey Fudge. He's collapsed on the floor beside me. Exhausted from the week. Physically and mentally exhausted is how I describe the week. Oh. I lost my fingernails in the episode too, because I was working with soil and, you know, there's a flower. Where'd that come from? I had to cut them back really short to get myself, you know, clean and tidy. And boy, I've noticed it when I'm doing my needlework. Just picking a pin up, it's quite annoying. I could probably do with a week of no stitching, let the nails come back a little. I don't have long nails anyway. I can't grow real good nails, but just a little bit helps. There we go. All right, guys. Does that need stitching? I think my pot's a bit... We'll leave it at that. I'll pause the video, take you outside and show you these garden beds, and say hello to Pepper and Bandit, and we'll go from there. Hi, before we go anywhere, I turned around and let's just say hello to the Fudge. He's just chilling out. Hey, Fudgy. Hey, buddy. He's doing really well. He's doing really, really well. He gets his needle once a month to help with pain, but that in turn gives him his strength back in his back of his legs, so he's standing tall. He's doing really well. I think he'll be happy that the house is quiet, to be honest. Yeah. B1, the brother-in-law, is allergic to cats. So the sneezing, and then I'd have to give him some Telfast, and yeah, he loves Fudgy, but yeah, instant fur attack. Hey, Fudge. The cat can't be held responsible for that. Hey, buddy. Yeah. We'll do some stitching today, my friend. Just you and me. All right. See you later, Fudgy. Okay, we're outside. So that's the first garden bed. It is all planted out, yet to be mulched. I do have some bulbs that I want to poke in the soil, so I'll do that in the next day or so. Now you'll notice some pots here. All of these pots were around where Pepper and Bandit sleep, and they had elephant ears in them and some ferns and just really tropical things. But what I found is the wind is just so harsh here and still has that salt hot feel about it. They just did not thrive. So they were there about 6 months. So I've advertised them and passed them on to some locals so that they might have a better spot for them, because when I moved the big elephant ears here, the wind really knocked them around and they were flapping in my face, like they were quite tall. There's some fishermen down around the corner, so Bandit's just watching them. He's pegged them there. So I got my pots back and I went to Bunnings and I had a look in the coastal section, and I ended up getting some plants that are a little bit more conducive to this type of environment, like woolly bush and salt bush. So they should thrive here because they're classic sand dune type Australian bush. This mother-in-law's tongue was gifted to me, and it has seriously outgrown the pot in a very short time. So my plan is to split that, and I've got a second medium-sized pot that it can go into over on the other side of the patio. Then I've just planted in here just real coastal, dry, loving plants. Done a little cluster. I did sneak a viola in there, but it might not survive because it's pretty harsh environment. I'll just come around this side. The sun's pretty bad at the moment. I've got some, what do they call them? Portulacas? Is that the word? That's my mother plant, I call them, and here's another one. So I can take bits from those two and put them through my garden. So a little bit of fun coming there. Look at these two. Look at Pepper, she's saying. Yeah, cuties. Anyway, so yeah, it's a bit more planting there. So the garden bed itself, I've brought all my agapanthus from the front of the house that was struggling. I did move in a heap of little ones about a month ago, and to see if they were going to be happier here, because the front is the north and it was just too hot, and I was too lazy to keep the water up, and they were really starting to get frazzled. Now they all look like this guy, and now they look like that. So they are happy, and they're tucked in by the pots. I kept my pots, so they're sitting on top of it. So once I realised that my little agapanthus, they're like mini ones, are going to be happy, I then brought in the rest of them. So he's from the front looking real sad, and that's happy times coming for him. I haven't done anything in here. I had an iris in there, a beautiful iris. Hi Leanne, who loves irises, but Pepper and Bandit dug it out and ate it. So the iris is gone, but I bought some more bulbs. So I'm going to sprinkle bulbs through all this. That daisy is looking good, so he's staying. I have a spare pot because Bandit was, doing what boy bandits do. So I've emptied the soil, freshened it up, it's ready for something. I've popped in a few more violas. They love it in here because it's protected. I won't go that way because they always did a bit of top dressing on the grass. It's fierce. They didn't really. They just decided that we were going to do that, but I really needed the soil in the bed. But no, they wanted to top dress all of that. So anyway, that's a who's the boss type thing that happened off the work site. I had ornamental garlic, big bush of it. I cut it into 5 different pieces, so that's a that's one of the big white agapanthus from the front, so he should be a lot happier. What else can I show you? I'm yet to plant out those pots. I've run out of garden bed soil for pots, so I've got another woolly bush to go in here. So I think that's it. I might just pause the video and go around the other side. Okay, I'm now coming around the other side. So down that outer edge is the last of the large white agapanthus from the front. They've been transplanted in, so I can't wait to have those clump out in beautiful big white flowers. Stop, you two. The agave is just sitting there at the moment. I think that'll end up in a pot. Those 3 agave, well there's only 2 there at the moment, they were between my magnolias, so I cut them off, and I've put one in that pot there, and those 2 are just sitting there waiting for me to transplant them, or I'm not sure. They're just sitting there. If they start to throw roots, that's fine. I'll be able to easily pop them out. I've got 3 little pink lavenders here. So beautiful. This little guy. Bit of an impulse buy. Full sun. Technically not full sun, but I think they'll be fine. Great for pots. 30 centimetres wide, 40 centimetres tall, so they shouldn't get too big. So I'll put the 3 of them here. I just would like a flush of lavender as I walk along this path. They also did that. So in here I've got dieties, the purple one. 1, 2, 3, 4 plants. I've then got the rest of my agapanthus from the front garden bed. Plus I bought, I think, 2. So this is a purple agapanthus, white agapanthus at the back, purple and white dinies. I just love purple and white in the garden, and pink. Just so pretty. What else? My kangaroo's in position. My chooks are in position. So the chook bed. What else have I got? Oh, I'll show you the little path. These are the pavers that didn't quite work, so we had to upgrade the pavers. So because all of the concrete is angled here, nothing's square, so therefore the bed, it is square but it's on an angle in the angles. Does that make sense? And that did their heads in. They could not get their heads around that. But I was not too worried, because I said to them, I'm walking in here to access a hose, and Bandit and Pepper sit here of an evening because we're just inside watching TV. So I was happy that this is a little bit wider. I don't feel like I'm going to hit my knees as I walk through. So loving it, loving it. And I can fill a hose easy into a bucket and not feel like I'm going to fall over because everything's so tight. I've planted mondo grass in here just to give it a little bit of life. Whether the dogs dig it out, probably. But yeah, I've got one of those trays. They plant it in like a big rectangle and you just cut it up into the bits. So I poked mondo grass there. Pepper's been mucking around here. At the moment the dogs have been really good. I've caught Pepper twice in the garden, just exploring and sniffing, and I've managed to reprimand her, and I haven't sort of seen her for the next 2 nights. So I'm hoping that we've solved that. Bandit hasn't gone in there because he's seeing this, because the boys put a seat on the bed. Bandit's seeing that as a major deterrent to jump, and he's not really a jumper. Pepper's the one that is naughty. So I'm hoping Mr. Bandit has been stopped. There is a little bit mondo grass. I've still got my sugarcane mulch to put on, but not yet. Let's get these plants established. Okay, I'm back inside. I had to cut that video. I was continuing walking towards the lake and filming the weather today, the lake. It was just beautiful, but the wind is too much. It would have been hard to hear me at one section of that video because as I sort of moved out of the shelter of the buildings, the wind was just roaring. So watching back at that section of video, I cut off the view of the lake. We'll do that another time. And I thought, as I come back in, I noticed these are the bulbs that I'm yet to poke in around the place. So I just thought I'd show you those. They're going to be a little bit of fun. I'll do them in the next day or so. And also watching back the video, I think there's an agapanthus there that I don't like its position, so I'm actually going to move it. It was just interesting getting a view of the garden from your aspect. Sort of, I spotted a few little things design-wise that I will adjust. So yeah, there you go. Irises, just love them. These guys I had in Brisbane and they grew really well, very hardy. So I thought, oh, I'll get a couple more of those. And also snowflakes. I had them as a kid at the farm in amongst the agapanthus, so a bit of a memory of my childhood, having little snowflakes pop up in winter. So that's it. I will head back to my desk now. See you shortly. Okay, back at my desk now. When I come back in from outside, I just finished stitching the ginger jar down, so that's done. I still need to do the lace. There's pins in lace and I might need to reposition it. But I just want to get out of my head potentially adding some script or music to the piece. So I went to my pile of fabrics from Rachel and I thought maybe there was some little interesting elements that could, go on. I don't mind that. This is where the more you look, the more you see, is my theory behind these. I would probably not needle turn that if I did use it. cut it neat. Cut it neat to the edge and just stitch it on with invisible stitch. Yes, pussycat. I think if I did anything else, like pulling out a turquoise thread and heavily stitching, I'd lose the daintiness of it. Now I want this to feel like it's not a major feature. Fudge is walking around the counter. He's frisky. See, I was in those drawers over there. He's Fudgy. He's now trotting along the top of the counter. He's had breakfast, had a nap, and then before we went outside, he was rolling on the carpet. So I don't mind little things like that, just little interesting bits. I don't think there's anything there. So these linens, let's just, oh, I like that. See how it's got that different text? That's got potential. And I think, once again, I'll cut it neat. I need bigger scissors. Oh, pussycat. Pussy. So I got the fabric out of the drawer, this music fabric, left the drawer open, and that's where Fudgy was. He'd walked across the bench, climbed down, and was sitting in the fabric. Now I've lost the, what was I cutting? Where is it? Fudgy, you've distracted me, and now I've lost my piece of fabric. Can you guys see it? No, they're all rejected ones. Hang on, what did I do? I picked up scissors. No, I didn't. I didn't get the scissors. I saw the cat. Here we go. Oh my goodness me. So a bit of a panic there for a moment. Cat is sitting in fabric drawer. This was on the desk as I headed to the drawer. Abandoned, flung due to Fudgy, up to no good. So I think what we'll do is we'll trim this so that it's got that frayed edge. I won't fray it at this stage because it'll naturally do that when I start stitching it down. So let's not go there yet. Don't want it to over fray. But we'll get the excess off. It might be too long. I might just take a piece of it. But what I'll do is just pin it for now, and like I've done, just percolate on it. See, pieces like that. And maybe it gets shortened. Maybe I shorten. I love the whole piece. Meow. Let's take advantage of that space and just, yeah, just little somethings. Remember the girls put fabric down their perimeter? They put chunks of gorgeous fabrics down some of the perimeters. I sort of felt like I missed that stage because of the way this piece was coming together. And I always sort of felt like I still needed something like that, like a background something. And I think these fabrics is going to give me that. So what else I've got? They're all cottons. I don't want to use those. I'm sure I've got more somewhere. I like those because they're grand. This piece is grand. So potentially, oh, that looks like a letter. Maybe I can pop that in a corner, and yeah, I think you guys get the general gist of what I'm doing. I'm now sort of embellishing a little more. I'm going to leave those two because I probably need to put this piece on to the carpet again. Let's have a look at this music. So I'm a bit of a fan of text and music notes. So whenever I see a fabric that has some form of music printed on it, I do pick it up because I just think it's beautiful. Now these are, see that one I bought twice thinking I didn't have it. So I got a smaller piece and a bigger piece. And then it came in a cream. This one will have a selvage on it. No official name. But if you just type in, if you did want to build yourself a little bit of a collection of fabrics with music text on them, just type in fabric with music on it and see what comes up. There's a few around there. Rachel, if you're listening, maybe you could do us a music themed kit with text that is music notes. That'd be pretty cool. I don't know, just throwing it out there. And then we'd have some gorgeous little linen snippety bits with treble clefs on them and things like that. I'm thinking if I'm going to do any, it'll be this guy. They're too faded and insipid. That's too busy, so they're out. Fudgy, would you mind taking them back to the cupboard that you were once sitting in? I'm thinking it's this one. I've only got a little bit of it left. Maybe I can pinch a little bit out. My bird is singing. Don't know, I'm going to leave that out because I think it's bold enough. This one here is a finer print. I think it would be a bit lost. If I do any, it might be a bit of this. All right, I think that's it. Now, I do have some of Rachel's fabric sitting here, but I don't think we want to, no. So there's script with colour like that. No, I'm not ready to chop into the piece. It's too beautiful. What else? Anything else here that looks like it might be able to slide on over? Now it's sort of all got a different colour tone about it. Yeah. No. There's another little bit of script. Oh no, it's on a... No. I think I've got enough. We can't be doing it just for the sake of doing it. We're going to take these pieces to the floor when I finish stitching, have a little play and see what comes of it. All right, guys. My next video probably be very, very short with it hung on the wall. And we'll see what evolved from here. There'll be stitching done, highlights of text. Yeah. All right, I'm going to leave you alone now and I'll catch you in a week or so when this piece is sort of coming to its conclusion. All right, guys, bye for now.